Hi, I just got home from work. Let's do a video. The sword. Swords were my favorite weapon as a kid. Whether it was TV shows, comics, graffiti, things I drew as a kid, Legos, I found that the coolest ones were definitely in video games. Now as an adult, I've lost the whimsy of my youth. I mean, look at me. Look, I miss the whimsy of my youth. I want to think swords are cool, not high-yield savings accounts. I'm tired of learning about HSAs. Give me stat lines and high DPS. You know what else I miss? I miss pointless internet lists. Does no one make top 10 lists anymore? I've seen that there's a few yucky corporate type YouTube channels around churning them out, but where are the real human beings? And that's a genuine question. Where are the real human beings making top 10 lists? Because I want more of them. Top 10 meatballs. I want less Watch Mojo and more Nintendo Fan for the win. Does anyone link me? Comment, please. I beg you. I want to know who's still making top 10 videos. If you make them, comment. I will watch them. I'm craving this content. But listen, you gotta be the change you want to see in the world. If you remember, Shigeru Miyamoto said that. So here we go. A nice, clean top 10 swords in video games. Just like they used to make, just like mom used to make back in the kitchen. You know, you come home and mom says, hey, Master Sword's gonna be number 3. And you say, what the fuck? Now, before we begin, I just have to say, this is my list. I make the rules. There is no objective fact or reason to be found in this video. Pure opinion, so don't be mad when I don't even bother including the laser swords from Halo. It's not on this list. Also, this is a sword purist list. Mostly. The thing's gotta be swords. You're telling me you're gonna make a top 10 swords list and you're gonna put daggers on it? You're gonna put lightsabers on it? They're not swords. They're just not. I don't care what Wikipedia says. I don't care. This is my list. This is not a democracy. Okay, this is a Topo Chico. Anyways, I don't count them. Neither do I count Shovel Knight's shovel. That's a shovel by name and literally every definition. It's a cool weapon, but it's not a sword. Anyways, let me know your top 10 in the comments below. Tell me why I'm wrong. And without further ado, let's get right into this top 10, starting with number Excalibur from Sonic and the Black Knight. Now, it's hard to decide where to begin a list. Being at the bottom often feels like losing. It's the bronze medal effect. People think you came in last place, but really you're just at the bottom of the top. Happy Pride Month. There's plenty of swords that didn't even make the cut. Like the energy sword from Halo. It's not on the list. Number 51. You're better, objectively, than all the swords that didn't even make the cut. And today's bronze medal recipient is Excalibur from Sonic and the Black Knight, playable on the Nintendo Wii. Any color of the Wii. The red one, the white one, the black one, the blue one. You can play it on all 4 of them. Who here remembers that there was a Sonic game where he was a knight? Not me. Sonic games are weird. I feel like they never know what to do with him, and the only Sonic game I ever really enjoyed is Sonic Adventure 2. Battle, because I grew up with the game and nostalgia blinds all. I just don't think Ooh He Run Fast is that good of a base to try and build a whole franchise around. There's only so many places you can run around, and mechanically there aren't that many ways to innovate it, which is why the games are always throwing in other characters or having some gimmick or trying to make you do anything other than ooh Sonic Run Fast. Also, the best side gimmick is the Chow Garden, and so many people agree it should be brought back, and it's so weird that this amazing, super awesome, fun little side quest, part of the game, just disappears from the franchise as a whole.
Did you insert a memory card?
I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't stand for it. Bring it back. I thought Shadow having a gun was cool as a kid, and I still think it's cool. So do with that what you will. He's a big emo hedgehog. It doesn't matter. I hope he has a gun in the 3rd Sonic movie. Anyways, in Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic has a sword, and he uses that sword to hack and or slash, and you can play as different furries with blades in the game that can upgrade your swords. At the end of the game, Sonic goes super metal Excalibur Sonic and gets armor, real armor, none of the dumb, half-cocked metal shortage armor that's present in the rest of the game. I know it's hypocritical to be like, ooh, it's dumb, nothing matters, and then criticize the dumb character design because I don't like it, but these helmets are stupid. They're not really helmets, they basically just have visors, and they should have given them more armor. It would have looked cooler. Anyways, supersonic with the blade. He uses it to kill the devil from the Bible. The Master Sword from Animal Crossing. Some people might be upset that I'm putting the Master Sword so low. I know it made number 1 on a lot of people's lists. I don't understand why. It's a cool looking sword, but the fact that you can't pull it out of the stone it's stuck in makes it literally just a decoration. If I'm being honest, this is here mostly for formality's sake. I want to appease the internet because, you know, everyone's favorite sword, it should be on the list, but if I'm being honest, I just don't get what makes it so good that everyone considers it the best. I have to assume that the later Animal Crossing games, it becomes usable, like the shovel or the axe, or maybe important to the story. I don't know if you K-word Tom Nook in the later ones, if they get real, you know, like comrade-y, so to speak. But if I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to talk about this entry anymore because I didn't feel it in my heart. This one's for you, okay? The Shadow Blade from Fruit Ninja. Listen, this might seem like a weird entry, but sometimes a finger can be a sword, or at least in this case, you use your finger to control a sword. The iconic early mobile game Fruit Ninja. It may seem simple and bland by today's standards, but back in the day, this thing could get you through a plane ride or dinner with like extended relatives when you're like, hey dad, can I play games on your phone? I was the original got any games on your phone kid, okay? I'm from a time when people didn't really have games on their phone. My mom had a Nokia that had Snake on it. I didn't even bother asking to use her phone because I had a Game Boy and was spoiled. Your finger controls the power of darkness. Darkness to ruin any fruit's dreams, whether they're melon or berry. Ooh, hey, did you know? Wait, hold on. This is a little Cowboy College throwback for the like 10 viewers that get that. By the way, I love you guys, genuinely. I appreciate you so much. Did you know that the classification of berries is incredibly different than what most people think berries actually are? In botany, berries define a simple fleshy fruit that has a lot of seeds, like bananas, grapes, pumpkins, oranges, or tomatoes, even cucumbers. As a simple fruit, a berry is derived from a single ovary of an individual flower. Weirdly enough, strawberries, blackberries, and raspberries, while all still being fruit, are not technically berries, despite the name berry being in the name. The more you know. The Dark Sword from Rogue Legacy. If you want a slightly better representation of a sword powered by darkness and not your finger, look no further. I mean, it kind of still is powered by your finger, because while in Fruit Ninja, you just got a cool streak behind your finger, Rogue Legacy's Dark Sword comes with the added perks of letting you deal more damage, giving you the power to steal health and magic from enemies, as well as an additional dash through the air, which, as someone who mainlined these 3 runes anyways, getting a weapon that had additional stacks of the perks. When I was a few new game pluses in deep, and I finally unlocked this sword, I said, all right. I was pretty jazzed. I do think the design, while cool, is a little bit lazy. The Blackout Void is an interesting idea, but with absolutely no definition, it gets a little bland after a while, hence why it's towards the bottom of the list. I think Void Out designs are neat, but they work better in a game where everything else has more definition. When it's already simple pixel art to begin with, you kind of lose something, hence why it's towards the bottom of the list. Number 47 is a potential upset. Again, we've got the Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts. This is another potentially controversial take. I saw that the Keyblade was really high and also placed on a lot of people's lists, but when I was working on writing this video, I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm honestly not really sure I consider the Keyblade to be a sword. The only thing it really has going for it is that blade is in the title, but it really looks more like a club or a mace. It doesn't have a sharpened edge, and it's more cylindrical than most people would consider reasonable for a sword. But hey, Disney didn't reshape my country and its laws to be disrespected like that. So here we go. Mickey Mouse, God rest your soul in the public domain. This is for you. Your bludgeoning stick. Number 47. Coming in, number 46, we've got the Katana from Dead Island. Dead Island, that's a franchise that really came back from the dead, or I guess it was more like this. Yeah, we have jokes here, we have jokes. Yeah, it took forever to finally get that sequel, huh? And when it came out, I remember a few people talking about it, mostly disinterested, and then never hearing any more about it ever again. The original Dead Island is pretty flawed. The first section of the game, taking place in the resort, is by far the best, and then it's nothing but diminishing returns for the next several hours. The setting was what made the game stand out in a time when zombie games were way overly prevalent and oversaturated, frankly. But after the first act, they completely ditch the thing that sets it apart, and it becomes boring like every other generic zombie game. That being said, I still enjoyed the experience overall. The game has a lot of fun different weapons you can craft and use. Probably my favorite is the Ripper, but there's just something reliable about a katana. Maybe it's the heavy overlap of weeb and geek culture, of gamers, but katanas are cool. The Katana from Unturned. I played way too much Unturned back in high school. I'm not really sure why, because frankly at the time it was not particularly fun. I think it was just something free that you could play with friends, and it was real low stakes and casual, visually even. Plus it was easy enough to run that you could install it on school computers, which was pretty nice. The game itself is a real simple zombie apocalypse survival game with a smattering of expected weapons, but when you drop into the new game, there was always one weapon that I was hoping to find early, and that was the katana. There's just something about a katana. They're cool, and it helps that they're often one of the strongest melee weapons in games, especially survival type games with high damage and a quick swing. They let you tear through groups of enemies. At number 44, we've got the Katana from Happy Wheels. When I think about how messed up the current generation of kids is, I think it's important to remember the context of my own upbringing. Yeah, kids are having their brain rotted by weird Roblox garbage, TikTok trash, and God forbid I say it, but skibbity toilet, if that's even relevant anymore, which I'm fairly sure it's not. Whatever. I grew up with just as much internet trash, a lot of which was equally not good for the psyche. We grew up playing games like Kitty Cannon and Happy Wheels, just completely unnecessarily violent games that were, I mean, still pretty fun to play. Kitty Cannon was not much of anything, really. That was just like a video game, but Happy Wheels was pretty fun. It was definitely gruesome as a kid, but it was absurdly popular, and it launched many a YouTube gaming career. In the game, you choose some poor sap to go through an obstacle course of a level full of absurd violence to torture and dismember you. Your goal being reaching the end with, some limb of your body. There was a wide variety of levels that indulged a young sadist. Some of the most memorable to me were the ones where you weren't even going through a course. Instead, you were stuck in a singular spot and you grabbed hold of various weapons to fling at poor souls, often named after real people who had the internet's ire at the time. With a fully formed cerebellum, it's honestly pretty disgusting. Just the act and the thought behind it. I mean, I get it, like celebrities fucking suck and like rich people are garbage, but like at the end of the day, it's still a little bit weird to be like indulgent in torture, especially when a lot of the celebrities were just like pop culture celebrities that people hated. They weren't even necessarily like horrendous people, There's a lot of like really vile people committing atrocities against humanity and promoting violence against large groups of people, but this was often like Justin Bieber or like Rebecca Black, who just existed as like a teenage girl, and people were like, I don't know. Anyways, one of the most iconic weapons in the game though is the katana. There's just something grisly about a katana. I don't know, something about how quick and clean they slash. It's just nasty, but it's iconic, and that earns it the coveted number 44 spot. Whew. Things are heating up. Okay, I'm done with this. Whew. All right, number 43, we've got the Katana from Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead is an iconic duo of games. I guess specifically I'm more familiar with Left 4 Dead 2, because that's the one I played more. Pretty near perfect game in my opinion. It's probably tied as my favorite multiplayer experience with Borderlands 2. There's just something so quick and easy about picking up a game of Left 4 Dead with friends. The zombie hordes and special infected are dynamic and interesting. The levels are insanely immersive, and the way the world behaves it sucks you right in. I could sing praise about it all day. But there's other videos that go deep in depth about just how perfect it is, and they do it way more justice than I can in just a short little top 10 swords list, okay? I'd highly recommend checking out this video that explores so much of what makes the game special. Now, when playing the game, everyone has their favorite go-to weapon. As far as guns, my opinion seems to change as I continue to play the game, but there's one melee weapon that always reigns supreme, and it's the fire axe at a close second to the actual number one, which is the katana. There's just something so clean about a katana with high damage and quick swing. It lets you tear through a group of zombies and just keeps you from getting overrun. That's why katana is number 41. At number 42, we've got Attack on Titan is an anime. I mean, originally a manga, but there's also games. Are they fun? I don't know, kinda. You know what's cool? Katanas. You know what's even cooler? A blade that's like a katana and a box cutter. Had a little baby, and if you slash a Titan with that baby, it's slain. Nothing tops the OG blades with the omnidirectional maneuvering gear. Something so clean about how they're used to defeat Titans. The design is simple, but I think there's something real extra about how practical they are. Of course, blades would dull and break if you're using them on dozens of gigantic enemies, so being able to swap them out for a nice fresh set is a bit of realism that I really appreciate. But of course, they still only made it to number 42, so I'm really sorry about that. Also, I don't approve of what Eren Yeager did. Hey man, you know what's even cooler than realism? A magic sword that can slay gigantic enemies all on its own. Boom, it's the ancient sword from Shadow of Colossus. Originally, I was gonna put the third Colossus' sword on this list, but you could argue that's more of a building than a sword. And this sword beats that sword, so objectively, this is the better sword. Also, it's maybe used to summon or seals away a great evil. I think it does both. If I'm being honest, I've only ever watched people play through the game partially, which also holds it lower on the list. Also, I think the visual design of it is a little bit bland. That also is keeping it down. I really did try to only include swords that I've played in games. That's why Kratom's sword is not on here. There were a few that I had seen other people play or I just thought were so cool I had to include them. Again, it's my list. Please leave a dislike. Leave a vaguely threatening message. The more unsettling you can be, the better. Oh man, we're getting through it. And I'm sweating, man. We are getting through it. Dark Cloud is a game that I like a lot. You know what? Woo! Yay! It's time for a gel change. Ooh, dog, is it getting toasty in here, and I am getting sweaty. We did it. We made it to number 40. And what do we got there? We've got, I get to talk about Dark Cloud. Dark Cloud is a game on the PS2, but more importantly, hold on, I left the closet light on. Happy Pride Month, by the way. More importantly, Dark Cloud is an incredibly iconic game from my childhood. I don't think a lot of people know about it, but those who do all tend to speak incredibly fondly of it. I loved it as a kid, you know, cool dungeons, fun characters to play as, a cool town building system, and most of all, awesome weapons that you can strengthen and build into stronger and stronger forms. I haven't played the game again as an adult, so I am probably incredibly blinded by nostalgia. From what I remember, it's pretty grindy and it's pretty hard, kind of impossible / pointless to have all 6 characters be evenly leveled. Typically only about half the cast, or more realistically like Toin and the bunny guy, having strong weapons. Maybe one other person in there depending on how you played, but who cares? My favorite character as a kid was always Toin. Of course, I defaulted to the sword user being my favorite, and being the starting character, he has the most weapons of anyone, and all the designs are all the designs are incredibly cool. I had to resist making this list half of the swords from the game and the other half, you know, just like being from Skyrim, but I wanted to keep things concise, so I limited myself in having, you know, not a ton of entries from a singular series on the list. I'm not saying only one entry per series, but I tried not to go overboard. In the game, 7th Heaven is one of the strongest swords you can upgrade to, and I think it has a design respecting that strength. The orange and purple tones of the blade match the aesthetic used in the title screen, making it incredibly thematic. The swirls and teeth across the blade are cool aesthetic touches, and the overall form is unique but still incredibly sharp and lethal. I just think it's a cool sword. Dark Cloud, 7th Heaven, number 40. Oh no, number 40. The next sword on my list is number 38. Where did 39 go? This actually is not a bit. Number 39. I gotta think of one quick. Number 39. Okay, number 39. I'm gonna go with the swords from Sims Medieval. I haven't played the game yet, but I like Sims a lot, so a medieval Sims would probably be really cool. I was gonna buy it and play in this video, but I just bought Kirby's Epic Yarn, and money's tight, so 1 game a month, okay? Anyways, number 39, the swords from Sims Medieval. 41, 40, 38. Oh, there's 2 38s. Never mind. There's 2 38s. That makes this 39. Forget it. The Sims integrity, okay? If I didn't play it, it's not on the list. 38, Club freaking Penguin, man. This was my jam back in the day. Party at my Yiggy. Except I didn't have a membership for like 96% of the time I played the game, maybe even more. So my igloo would have been the generic, regular style that you start with, completely empty, devoid of furniture, except there would have been plenty of puffles, only the ones that I, as a peasant, was legally allowed to own. So I think I had like a red, a blue, and a purple, and maybe one other one. I think maybe you could get an orange for free at one point. Orange puffles were like a big thing, I remember back in the day. Rest in peace to Club Penguin, the game that no longer is. There have been some re-uploaded versions of the game, but at least apparently one of them had an issue with something that rhymes with child predators. Here's the thing. As a poor pleb, I could only use the items that I was able to get for free at special events. I wasn't playing Club Penguin in the year of our Lord 2014. I was busy, I was doing other things, important things.
Uh-oh. What the hell is this?
But there was an event in that year called Pirate Party, where you could duel for points and use those points to unlock a number of different swords. I think personally the most charming is the wooden sword. Not sharp nor lethal, there's something charming about it. Club Penguin is a game for children, a fantastical one. Children play enough violent games, okay? See any of the other swords on this list. It's refreshing to have one that's just fun and charming. Club Penguin, it's a world of make-believe. You're pretending to be a penguin, a bird that can't fly. I mean, it doesn't get more imaginary and indulgent in childhood whimsy than that. Number 39, the wooden sword. All right, Borderlands 2, back on track. Number 38, Borderlands 2, a game mostly known for its guns. What's it doing on a top 10 swords list? Wah! Number 36, Borderlands is actually on the list. This is my absolute favorite melee weapon. No, it's not, actually, that's not true. My favorite melee weapon from the game is Krieg's Buzz Axe, who incidentally is also my favorite character from the game. He's the most fun to play as, but he doesn't have a sword. So he can't be a part of this list. Of the original characters from the game, Zero is my favorite. There's a fun amount of mystery involving the character. Is he a man? Is he a frog? Is he a he or they a them? Anyways, snipers are always one of my favorite archetypes in a shooter game because, you know, sometimes you don't. Incredibly skillful in long range, these characters usually implode when it comes to close range combat. Zero is one armed more effectively though, with his sword. It's kind of katana-like, pretty neat thing. It's bolstered by a skill tree that actually promotes it throughout the playthrough, and baby, you've got a sword cooking. That's a reference to, I want to say, How I Met Your Mother. Okay, we're starting to get up there because you know what's at number 37? Well, I'll tell you. My dentist, growing up, had an N64 in the children's waiting room. One of the best games that they had was the original Super Smash Brothers. There was one time that my mother told me she was going to be a little late picking me up from the appointment because she was running errands or picking up my siblings from school. I don't know. I got so excited though, because this would mean that I got to go to the waiting room and smash after my appointment. After getting my gums scraped, I went to the waiting room and played the game for a while before my mom came in, frustrated with me about why I wasn't in the normal waiting room, because I guess she meant she'd only be gone for like 5 minutes or like, I don't know. It might have just been miscommunication. She was waiting for me. She was like there right after my appointment. But I wanted to play the game. So I did play the game. Anyways, Link is in the game, iconic Zelda character Lincoln, and he's with his Master Sword. Really awesome to slash other iconic Nintendo characters with it. If I had like a Master Sword prop, I'd be swinging it around right now. Anyways, it's one thing to use the sword against forces of evil and junk like that, but getting to take Mario to beat town with your blade, there's some things in life money can't buy. Super Smash Bros. Is not one of them. You can buy that game and you can play it on the N64 or like an emulator. You don't even have to buy it actually. To do that. Number 36, Meta Knight? Ginger Fruit Punch from the Aldi seasonal collection. Meta Knight was at his best in Kirby Right Back at Ya, the cartoon that I watched on Saturdays as a kid. Then he was at his best in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. But in games, video games, he's at his best in Kirby's Epic Yarn because he is cute and made of yarn. He wields a sword that is made of yarn. He has a couple of them because they're made of yarn. And if you pull the button at the hilt, the sword collapses. It's actually probably the weakest sword on this list. Arguably stronger than the Animal Crossing Master Sword, since it's actually wielded as a weapon, but it can only harm other things made out of yarn, whereas at least like a sculpture of the Master Sword, it could arguably be used as a large blunt object to cave in someone's skull, but we're not ranking swords purely on damage. There's a lot of heart in this sword, and you can make it at home. All you need is some yarn. Also, I loved this game as a kid, and I played one of the songs from it for a piano recital. Shout out to my piano teacher. I kind of never really learned notes or how to read a piano, so that's why I struggled a lot in those lessons. I pretty much just memorized every song. I never learned how to actually play piano. It's one of my regrets of my childhood. Yeah, I don't know though. Actually, as I'm going through the reasoning of this, it kind of seems like a bad sword. Definitely not 36 material. I'm actually gonna go with Galaxia. That's Meta Knight's regular sword over this sword. From at the top of the segment, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I don't think I've played any other Kirby games that have Meta Knight in them, but I did play Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I liked the Subspace Emissary a lot, and I'm trying to stick to games I've actually played. I think it's a cool name for a sword, and he does that little tornado thing. Plus, it's Meta Knight. Isn't he like one of the best characters in Brawl? Isn't he like the best character in Brawl? It's like him or Ice Climbers, right? That's probably owed a great deal to how good the sword is. Anyways, this sword rules the 34 spot. 34. Coming in at number 35, the last one was 36. We've got Raiden's sword from Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I wrote a meme for this. I don't know how well it's gonna execute in the actual edit, so I'm just gonna read it in case I can't figure out how to make it do that. So here's the thing. That's a nice top 10 sword list. Why don't you back it up with any arguments? And then the senator character, I think he has like a cigar.
My argument is that I made it the fuck up.
Raiden's sword, number 35. The bit's a lot better in writing than in actuality. Number 34, the real number 34. This one rules. I kept moving around where the swords were on the list, and then I write bits for which number which sword is, and they don't make any sense because I needed to do like a third pass on the script, but I'm reading 34 right now. It's been like an hour. I'm not doing it over again. This tastes so crazy. Ginger Fruit Punch. It tastes like none of those things, but it tastes pretty good. Anyways, number 34. Heroes of Might and Magic 2 has got to be like a top 5 video game of all time for me. I know many people will cite Heroes of Might and Magic 3 as the game they remember most fondly from the series, or maybe the only one they played, but 2 is what I grew up with, and honestly, I think ignoring nostalgia, it's a better entry into the series. I think it's almost objectively better. I think it's aged a lot better. For a game that came out in 1996, almost 30 years old, it still looks absolutely stunning. The style of pixel art is genuinely, it's timeless. Combine that wonderful art with strong visual direction that clearly highlights the symmetry and themes of each faction with incredible sound design and really fun, challenging, engaging gameplay. You've got a masterpiece, okay? You did it. Now, in some of the games, you get to pick which of these 6 factions you are. There's 3 good-aligned factions and 3 evil-aligned factions, much like America's political parties, am I right? I think that the evil this is a separate thought from that last one. I think that the evil classes are way cooler, with the Necromancer and Warlock being my favorites, but if you happen to get saddled with the good factions, you can play as my personal least favorite. I mean, maybe my least favorite's the Barbarians. It's the Knights for this script. It makes more sense to say it's my least favorite. As a kid, I loved Knights, like the concept of Knights, the general visuals of Knights. I liked swords, I liked horses. So I'm kind of surprised that I didn't care for this faction, but I just didn't really think it could compete with the others. Part of it has to do with their top-end creatures. At the very top, you've got Paladins. Oh, and that's where I stopped writing this section, which don't quite compete with the other top-end dragons or other dragons or phoenixes, which are like bird dragons. The Paladins just kind of don't stack up. Also, literally, they're not nearly as strong. They're more affordable than other top-end creatures, sure, but they're pretty weak and they die pretty easily. But the Paladins, or pardon me not being too PC, the Crusaders, I didn't name them. It's what they're named in the game. I don't approve of the Crusade, or frankly, any holy wars. I shook my head disappointedly during the entire watching of Dune Part 2. But the Paladins and the Crusaders have pretty cool sounding swords and looking swords, and ka-cha, ka-cha, the way that they chop is pretty satisfying. When you get a big enough group of them, they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. Number 33, we've got Kleever from Donkey Kong Country 2. Donkey Kong Country 2 is some good monkey fun. In this funky monkey jam, there's a boss fight. A fight that involves a sword being wielded from lava. Who is this insane swordsman that defies death just to try and mess up your day? I don't know, because the real boss here is the sword itself, a living weapon bent on turning you into monkey mush. Kleever is a steely cutlass with bones for a hilt and gleaming red eyes of doom, conjuring fireballs and stabbing you. It's best to avoid this blade if you like having hands and eating bananas. That's number 33, Kleever. Number 32, we've got Scribblenauts Unlimited coming in with the sword. Scribblenauts Unlimited is a wonderful bit of pro-American propaganda that is just, it's too much fun. The only limit is your imagination and what you're allowed to do within the game. In this vein, your access to weapons and blades is astronomical. I'm gonna go with just the plain sword today. That's what I'm feeling as the entry into this list, but with the assumption that you're altering it in some way. Scribblenauts is fun because adjectives exist. In fact, I think this game is the reason the Mayan people invented adjectives. It's possible that this sword should be number 1, as your imagination really is your limit. However, due to some of your imaginations, this sword could only make it up to 32. Kind of do with that information what you will. Listen, I didn't make the video. It's not my top 10 swords list, okay? Number 31, Dark Cloud's back, guys. Not the first time on this list it's gonna come back. Spoiler alert. Click to this part of the video if you want to avoid spoilers for the rest of the list. I'm gonna name all of the rest of the 30 in really quick succession right now, so click this part of the video if you don't want to see that. Thank you. Welcome back. You may notice we're starting to get towards the end of the list, so needless to say, everything from here on out, I'm a pretty big fan of. Up next, we've got the Serpent Sword. As a kid, QuickTime events, man, did not like them. In fact, I actually just remembered, I have a video where I talk about the points I'm about to make, so I'm not even gonna bother making those points. Please go watch this video, I'm begging you. It's one of the least viewed videos on my channel, and it's probably one of the ones I'm the most proud of. But I mean, who knows, it might end up with more views than this video, in which case, you know, that's one way to move it up in the list. No one appreciated Brutal Moose when he made Televoid. Let's just, you know, art isn't always in the numbers. Top 10 swords. Coming in, number 31 is the Serpent Sword. I'm not sure if I've said that yet. It's from Dark Cloud. It's the only one that can slay this ooky spooky snake. And it's a super cool design. Look at this dangerous watermelon, you know, oh, dangerous watermelon beats danger noodle. You know, am I right? Big heckin' on to the next one. We have fun here, okay? Coming in at number 30, we got that cool sword from Majora's Mask. I kept meaning to come back to this entry to change it or write it out, you know, flesh it out, because all I have written down in my notes is that cool sword from Majora's Mask, and that is not really an answer. There's a sword you wield in the fierce deity mask. But honestly, while I like the infinity design, it's too spindly for me. It feels kind of weak. But maybe in the actual game it looks different, and that's just from the art. Then there's the fairy sword, which is strong, but I don't really vibe with it. There's the gilded sword, which is like, okay, but I don't like its little icon either. I guess I don't like a lot of the designs of the swords in this game. The masks are cool. There's the Kokiri sword that you start with, which is like whatever. I think the razor sword is my favorite from the game. It's annoying though, because it only lasts for like 100 swings, and it's objectively the second worst sword in the game, but I think it looks awesome. And I didn't say strong sword, I said cool sword. Also, how weird is it that it has like a split blade design, but I guess one of the blades snaps off after you use it 100 times, and then when you upgrade it, it goes away and it forms back into one sword. It just doesn't really make sense that it is in the middle of these things. It feels like it should be its own unique standalone thing, but you know, I'm not Mr. Nintendo or Mrs. Nintendo. Oh man, okay, number 29, Dante's sword from Devil May Cry. I'm not gonna lie, this entry was originally going to be the Soul Edge from Soul Calibur, but spoiler alert, I felt like 29 was a bit too low for it, so you'll see it later in the list. I'm not lying. But you know what fit just right into number, the sword from Devil May Cry. What's it called? I actually don't know, and I didn't look it up. I'm sure it has a name. Maybe it's something Renaissance. I don't know. I haven't played the series, but I guess I would like to. I feel like it's the right amount of camp and emo and angst. I don't want to give the impression that I'm not taking this list seriously. Entries like number 30 through 27, they're all kind of phoned in. Below this paragraph of the script, it's just kind of garbage for a little bit. You know, I want to make a video that I'm proud of, or maybe not even that at this point. I want to make something that I feel like is fun, but I also still want to take it seriously. And I'm staring at this thing, and I feel like I don't really have a whole lot meaningful to say in this section of the video, and I'm realizing that's kind of a problem because I've already written and recorded this much. And I even said I was too deep in earlier when I realized that everything was all out of order, and that was earlier, so now I'm in even further. And I don't want to renumber these. I really don't. We're just going to call in an audible. I'm going to go back to number 30. I think I'm on 29 right now. I'm going to go back to number 30, and we're going to do it over. If you're mad that Alucard's sword and Exor aren't on the list and also aren't in the honorable mentions, it's because they were going to be 28 and 27, and now they are gone from the list. I guess consider this their honorable mention. All I was going to say about Alucard's sword anyways was that I liked the Netflix Castlevania show, and Exor was just there because I thought a sword that was a guy was cool, but I already did that with the Donkey Kong sword. I was really itchy during that segment. All right, number 30, Pyramid Head sword. Pyramid Head, iconic horror pinup boy. If he was wielding a gun, do you think he'd be as popular? Probably not. There are a few things that make Pyramid Head iconic. His titular big head, his status as a symbol, Happy Pride, and big knife. It's a cool sword. I like, you know, it's part of what makes him so intimidating, is it's like, why has this dude got a big pyramid? Why has this dude got a big knife? I don't know. I don't want to mess with him. Seems like kind of a freak. Number 29, fencing swords from Wii Sports Resort. Why not more swords games when your remote is motion controlled and shaped like hilt? Seems like a weird underutilization. Seems like Beat Saber should have been a Wii game, but instead you got like the dumb dance games. That doesn't make any sense. But before Beat Saber became an actual thing, this was many people's first foray into the magical immersive world of Wiimote equals sword. And you know what? These swords must have been imbued with the power of the gods. Kratom wishes he wielded these swords, am I right? Imagine you're on vacation, just chilling, relaxing at the pool. You finally have a week off from the torture factory, and boom! Some guy goes flying through the air because these non-lethal peace enforcement weapons just shot a guy across the resort. I don't know, and it's fun. Wiggle Wii Remote, make sword go. Come on, Nintendo, bring it back. I'm just saying, produce more Wii consoles. Made you a lot of money before, just make more of them. Number 28. Number 28, we got Oblivion, and I'm starting to get toasty. Well, number 28 isn't Oblivion, but the sword is from Oblivion. I was genuinely addicted to Oblivion in middle school. I'd come home from school and all I would do until I went to sleep was play this game. It got to the point where I would close my eyes, and this is not like a bit. I would close my eyes and I would see the menu from the game. I would literally have dreams in Oblivion, but not in like the Oblivion part of Oblivion, because that scared I did not want to go through those gates. I avoided them as much as possible. Kvatch was always destroyed in my games. Anyways, I could tell that it was not good for me, but I couldn't pry myself away from it. It got to the point where I just deleted my save file, because that was the only way that I could get myself to stop playing. I don't know, man, it was bad. I have an addictive personality. That's why I like Magic the Gathering so much. Fun fact. The Umbra Sword embodies that darkness of addiction with its slick black blade, but it bears none of the weight of my actions, as it's a quest item, meaning as long as you don't complete the quest it's tied to, you get a pretty powerful sword for free. I'll never get back my squandered youth. Coming in at number 27, we've got Nidhogg. Nidhogg is one of the first games I ever played where the premise was incredibly simple but perfectly executed. Duel or die. Make it from one side of the map to the other and don't be bested. That's all you need. That's the whole game. The actual mechanics and movements of the sword are simple and clean. It's all about reaction and anticipation, outplaying your opponent, disarming, destroying. The swords themselves, they're really as simple as it gets. Sure, there's other swords made of simpler materials, spoiler for the next entry, but no other swords with so few pixels. Barely a blip. You may think, doesn't that make it not really worth being on the top 10 swords list? No, they're incredibly small and simple, but they're mechanically potent. There's so much power in such a small dimension, and I think that's incredible. Only incredible enough for number 27, but, you know, beat the Keyblade. Number 26, and we're back on track. It's been a while since I've really made a YouTube video. Honestly, it's been like 3 years since I've known what to do with this channel, and like 9 since I've known what to do with my life. Honestly, the last time things felt simple was when I first played Stardew Valley. It's such a beautiful, simple game. Back in high school, I plugged so much time away into this game, just living in the world and enjoying it. Not an unhealthy amount of time like Oblivion, just an enjoyable, pleasant, relaxing amount of time. Making my farm, being in love, building a community. Honestly, all things I should focus on more in my life now, my real life that I live most days. Life doesn't have to be a huge, big thing. Do you think any of God's other creations spent so much time questioning their purpose? No. To be is enough. To simply exist. Number 26, the wooden sword. There's nothing insanely remarkable about it. It's not the strongest of its kind, and it's arguably, well, it's the weakest. But it doesn't worry about those things. It does as it does, and it does it to the best of its ability. That's what life should be about. Maybe I need to focus more on the beautifully simplistic answers. But also, maybe this is only number 26 on the list, so, you know, why base your philosophy off of a bronze medal when gold exists? Or platinum? Because at a certain point, we decided platinum was above gold. Thank you, Xbox? Or maybe medical implants? Number 25. Someday, you know, there's gonna be a new Elder Scrolls game. But I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that by the time it comes out, I will not enjoy it. I think too much time has passed. Call me cynical, but I think that the follow-up to Skyrim will never live up to my expectations. I don't think it'll live up to most people's expectations, and I think that insanely long development times do not make for good games. Unless maybe you're like an indie where it just takes that much time because you don't have a huge studio. I hope it's good, but I really don't think it will be. So I'll forever be thankful for my time with Skyrim. The total sum of that time would probably be a pretty disgusting amount of time if you added it all up. When it came to trying to narrow down entries from Skyrim, I had a hard time. I love a lot of them. I love the Daedric swords, I love the Dwarven, Elven, even Iron. I think the Ebony look kind of too weird, but I'd have to say my absolute favorite is the Glass swords. There's something just so eye-catching about them. Typically in my playthroughs, I'd be going light armor and light in the pack, so the Glass sword was often the high point for my characters. There's such a unique design, and I love the idea of having one of the most powerful weapons in the game being glass. I know they're actually made of malachite and refined moonstone, which is where that strong piercing green color comes from. Malachite in real life. That game we're all playing right now has this cool unlockable. It's a mineral, malachite. It's a real thing. It's really, really cool. I can see where the inspiration comes from. There's something undeniably powerful about the way that these minerals look. Having a weapon formed from them is fun. I like it. Moving on. Number 24.
What if it was
blue?
Gonna get cold tonight. Might want to at least cover your delicates. Hey, watch it!
All right, coming in at number 23. Who's that pink marshmallow floating in the air? It's Kirby. In my favorite Kirby game, you can make a sword that's on fire. It's a beautiful juxtaposition. Kirby, the adorable, iconic thing that he is, wielding a gargantuan flaming blade. What do you think Kirby would taste like if you ate him? I'm not sure that you even could, but would it be like bubblegum? Or is he rubbery and inedible? In my mind, he would taste like saltwater taffy. Maybe like a blue flavored one. I know he's pink, but I feel like the blue flavored one, it would just match up. Number 22, Swordman is a dork. His boss fight is dumb and he sounds like a dweeb, but he has a big sword for a hand, or maybe at that point, it's just a finger? Listen, one big finger can be a sword. In this case, it is. I don't like anything else about Swordman's design, but that doesn't matter. His finger sword has cool glyphs on it, and just having a giant sword attached to your arm is neat. It reminds me of the Mega Man anime I loved as a kid, because they're super fighting robots with that blades for arms all the time, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I thought that the through line is I like emo characters. Next video is going to be top 10 emo characters in everything. Listen. Okay, I'm about to right a wrong from earlier, maybe. Keyblades are cool. Number 21, Keyblades are cool. My ranking of the original is so low, mostly based on the fact that it's not really a sword. I think it's a cool weapon. And if this was top 10 weapons, not top 10 swords, things might have shaken out differently. That being said, I do think some Keyblades are definitely swords. And one of the coolest, actually, I guess the coolest of these are the Ultima weapons. They've got really slick designs and the power to back up the looks. Kingdom Hearts 2 was the peak of the series for me, because it's the only one I beat. 3 had way too long of cutscenes. I wish I could just save and quit in the middle of them, because sometimes something comes up. Listen, when my kids puking, when my kids puking on the floor, you gotta put the controller down. Family, I'm providing for my family. Let me save and quit the game and pick back up. I don't have time to wait half an hour to finish the stupid cutscene so that I can save and quit the game. It just made me hate it. I barely played it at all. I like that there's a camera mode, but I hardly even used it because I couldn't stand the game. It's a shame because I think it's a fun series. It's just, it got a little too up its own butt. Number 20. Swordman is a guy that's a sword. Soul Edge is a sword that's kind of a guy. Look at this thing. There's so many different versions of Soul Edge, which I think is really fun. It's hard to pick an absolute favorite, but I love the complete versions from Soul Calibur 2. If I had to pick a singular favorite one, it would probably be Nightmare's complete Soul Edge. This thing makes me think of Relinquished, a big gooey flesh monstrosity. I also like this version. I linked an image, I don't remember what it was, but it's probably something cool. I think that the Soul Edge is like the epitome of like fan art bait. This thing has so many different versions, it's just itching for you to pick your favorite character and show what their ultimate Soul Edge would be like. Number 19. Hey man, that last entry was pretty evil. I think we need to banish some of that evil. And what better than a most holy blade wielded by an archangel? While Heroes of Might and Magic 2 was definitely my favorite, Heroes 5 was my favorite of the later iterations. I guess arguably my second favorite, and I think also arguably it's the last entry into the series before everything just went completely doo-doo. It came out in my early teens, and the design was perfect. All the designs were phenomenal. All, trust me, all of them. Look at the designs from the game. Okay, happy Pride. The angels especially stand out to me. I don't normally go for the knight type factions as I mentioned an hour ago, but these tippy top tier units are perfect. They've got a nice amount of edge. The hood plus chunky armor and giant swords, they're perfect. Look at the giant cross handles. There's something truly divine about how unwieldy they are. A weapon not fit for man, but something greater. That's number 19. Number 18, yeah. Probably the single most iconic murder in gaming that I can think of is Sephiroth killing Aerith. I don't think I can think of seeing any other act of violence so regularly in my youth. Yeah, this video, man, woo, rip. Should have used Monster Reborn, am I right? Cool guy, Sephiroth. He needs a big long sword. I think it's real neat that his nemesis also has a big sword, but you can tell they're different because one's big and narrow and the other is big and chunky. Speaking of that big chunky sword, we haven't seen it on this list yet, have we? Well, we are getting closer to the top. Anyways, number 18, Sephiroth's Masamune. Quick lightning katana bonus round. The katana from Hotline Miami. The katana from something else. I forgot what the other one I listed was. The katana from Super Hot. Super Hot. Super Katana. Oh, and the other one was the laser katana from Beat Saber. All right, number 17. Let's have a talk. Sit down. Your father and I, we've done some talking, and look, let's just cut the crap. Number 17, it's the Master Sword from Skyward Sword. Ooh, the Wii doesn't have enough games where you sing a sword. It doesn't have enough games where you swing a sword. Boom. One of the most beloved Zelda games in the whole series drops. No more playing around. I thought it would be funny to include the Master Sword in side games, but come on, no more messing around, we're serious. This is the real deal, the Master Sword, wielded by Link in a Zelda game, in a mainline Zelda game. Yes, the combat is pretty mindless and dumb. Yes, the game is incredibly linear and really lame in a way that there's so few places that you actually explore. Yes, the Sky Islands are pointlessly sparse and boring, but hey, that part where you play a sand pirate and you mess with the time mechanics, pretty fun. Come on. Anyways, even if it was dumb and stupid, at a lot of points, most of the game, I really hated sealing away that giant chicken so much. Swinging your hand around and having the sword swing with you is pretty dang fun, all things considered. I never played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm really hoping when I do, they bring back the motion controls, because I don't know. It's like, why would you drop it? You figured it out. You figured it out with that entry. You keep doing the thing. You don't change the formula when you figure it out. Number 16. Does anyone remember Skrillex Quest? Please drop a dislike if you do. That's how I'm going to keep track. I'm going to look at the dislikes, and that's how I'm going to know how many people remember Skrillex Quest. I feel like I must have been one of the enlightened few to have played it back in the day. For those who missed out, basically a short little Zelda fan project that features snippets of Skrillex songs, and I think was actually commissioned by Skrillex, maybe to promote something, maybe just because. I played this game at least 3 times, and the sword has like dubstep powers. It makes me think of simpler times in a way that nothing else does right now. Things used to feel different. My knee hurts every other day. Just from recording this video, my knee hurts. My toe, the ball of my foot is starting to hurt again. My back doesn't hurt today, thank God. Exception to prove the rule. And it's like almost time for me to go to bed and it's still light out. It takes longer to bounce back from everything. I don't know, man. On a less sarcastic note, number 15, does anyone remember Dragon Fable or still play it? I loved this game as a kid. It was a pretty simple Flash online RPG. MMO, it was online, but it wasn't like an MMO in the way you'd think. As with many things on this list, this is a product of its time. Replaying it as an adult, I noticed that, wow, there is so much subpar writing. The writers behind the game definitely think that they are way more clever than they actually are, and I do not find that relatable. It's a lot of winky internet humor with plenty of references and fourth wall breaks. This is not a fourth wall break. This is a direct address. I've been doing it the whole time. It's a completely different thing. I loved the game, but it's hard to stomach and really not that much fun anymore. I just click through pretty much all the dialogue. But I loved it as a kid. I loved that you could get a pet dragon, and the pseudo anime style characters were really fun, and the gameplay was pretty fun as a kid. There's plenty of charm if you're into the right sort of dorky things. Anyways, I never had the dragon amulet, so I couldn't use the coolest weapons. And it's a bummer too, because the dragon amulet was like a one-time payment. It was like 26 bucks or something, and you just had it. It was objectively like a better model than like a Club Penguin membership, because you had it, you didn't have to keep paying for it. But I don't know, I guess I never asked for it for a birthday. I'm picking Sepulchre's sword as my entry on this list. I like how, as far as skeleton swords go, it's so dorky. It's like someone made this sword thinking, okay, I want a sword made out of a guy, but I don't know where to put all these bones. Happy Pride. A new hand touches the beacon. Here's the thing. I'm really hungry. I've been filming for a while, as you may notice from the runtime, and a lot of that's edited out. So I'm gonna take a little break. Well, I'm not gonna take a break because I don't want this to take forever. But I am gonna look through the fridge while I do this section. I hope that's okay. Number 14 is Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker is definitely my favorite sword from Skyrim. You know, everyone loves the quest. That's a sarcastic thing. You know, the like whole new hand touches a beacon thing is a thing a lot of people will talk about, but the quest is like fine for it. I think the sword shines being that it's like pretty powerful. The whole explosive effect is cool. And the design of it is just phenomenal. It's a really cool looking sword, which I think gets it a lot of points. I mean, I guess it gets most of the points from that, but I found myself using the sword in most of my playthroughs. In every playthrough where I'm wielding, you know, a one-handed sword. It's effective and it's cool. Excuse me. What more could you really ask for? From entry number 14. Welcome back. It's a new day. I was really hoping that I would be able to finish out yesterday, but you know, c'est la vie. Life happens. I got hungry and then I got sleepy and then it was a new day. But I'm back home again. Number 13. Oh yeah. Dark Cloud is friggin' back, dude. And it's big money this time because it's number 13. So that means it's gotta be a pretty good one. This is the last weapon you'll ever get in the game, or need. You know, it's like, I mean, when you get to the end of the game, you unlock the Demon Shaft. Happy Pride. Dungeon not available in the original Japanese release of the game. In it, you'll find 100 grueling floors as you climb up the top of the Demon's Shaft. I never actually made it to the top. I maybe made it to like floor 30, maybe 60, but you know what? My favorite recurring character, who's never gonna appear on camera, my big brother, my big baby brother, he beat the game. He made it to the top, and I watched him beat it, which is basically as good as me doing it, right? Anyways, at the top of the tower is a super secret final boss that when defeated will give you the Chronicle 2. This sword is the strongest in the game and has a pretty incredible design. It's definitely a personal pick for me. I know a lot of people aren't going to have played this game, and even fewer will have ever seen this sword in the game. But I think it's neat. I think it's got a really cool design. I like the powerful kind of beam thing going on in the center of it. It's got cool phalanges. I just think it's cool, man, okay? And it's like the strongest weapon in the game. It has like the highest max attack, so pretty strong. At number 12, we've got Brannon Lander's sword from LEGO Universe. I'm wondering, is this more or less obscure than Skrillex Quest? Probably less. I couldn't find any game footage or really in-game screenshots at all of Brannon Landers and his sword, so kind of all we have to go off of is the Wikipedia. I think that we can all agree from looking at this one image, it's a pretty cool sword. What does Brannon Landers do in the game? I want to say he's like part of the tutorial. Oh, this is a good one, guys. Hold up. This one's a good one. At number 11, we've got Girahim. Now here's a real sword. Man. Person. They. Happy Pride. I genuinely like Girahim. think he's one of the best parts of Skyward Sword. I think as far as the sword battles go, his are probably some of, if not maybe the best. Therefore, fighting against him makes your swordplay even better, you know? Ooh, building off of each other. We kind of love to see it. But if you don't remember, Girahim is a sword. I'm pretty positive. I didn't like double check this one, but I'm pretty sure I remember that he like is Ganon's sword, or Demise, I guess, in this game. I'm pretty sure that this dude turns into a sword, right? He has a sword, you know, hat on a hat kind of thing, sword on a sword, but I'm pretty sure he also is a sword. Yeah, I don't know, a sword wielding a sword. Kinda cool. Number 10. Guys, we made it. Number 10. Top 10 swords. This is number 10. Beginning of the end, you know? We've had a fun run here. Ooh, a serious, legitimate, incredibly grounded and reasonable answer at number 10. It's almost like I'm a professional at this, and this has been a very serious list. Thank you. Minecraft is a video game. There's a couple of different swords in the game, but only one of them has a song. Do you like my sword? Not my pick. My pick is iron. Because what's the first thing you do with diamonds? You make a pickaxe. What's the first thing you do with iron? Or probably what's the second thing you do with iron? You make a sword. The iron sword is a good, honest American sword. Slays enemies, slays friends. In a bind, use it to chop down a tree or something, destroy natural resources. Many American children will learn about their first sword in Minecraft. It's the national anthem of video game blades. Or maybe wheels on the bus. Kids still ride the bus. Coming in at number 9, okay, we've got another one that's kind of a fan favorite, kind of an audience pick, but also personally, I do really enjoy it, okay? It's iconic. I know everyone loves Cult of Personality, the free indie game out now on Steam. The social deception game in the vein of Among Us, except with the twist that there's exciting, engaging ways to continue affecting the game after you've been killed. Killed, I remind you, by the ever so iconic cultist's sword, an iconic sword that is wielded by the titular cultists. Anyways, if you somehow don't know this game, check it out. Cult of Personality, now out on Steam. I'll even link it in the description. I don't know how you don't. I don't know how you haven't played it yet at this point. That'd be embarrassing. But yeah, I mean, come on. We all saw it coming. Honestly, it probably should be higher on this list, but it is what it is, you know? Number 8, we've got Snake Sword from Soul Calibur. Listen, man, sword whip. And that's all I wrote. That's literally, I could turn the camera around right now. I had a lot of different ideas for this section of what I could say, but I realized that there's no way YouTube's even gonna let me show this sword in use in the game. Look over here, wherever I decided to put the footage. I mean, look at this. I can't show this. I can't show this. Come on. I want this video to get at least like 50 views. YouTube's gonna shut me out. They're gonna K-word me. Listen, if you're 21 years old, go to Google and search Ivy, Soul Calibur, and then change the search setting to GIFs so that you can see her swing the snake sword around. It's a cool weapon. It's a cool weapon. I like it because it still is a sword, but it's also like a whip. Number 7. Growing up, Final Fantasy X was the only Final Fantasy game we had. I guess you could call it and I never played it, but my brother did, and I watched. I thought Titus was cool, and I thought Lulu was cool, probably for the same reason I like a lot of characters from Yu-Gi-Oh! Belts, man. I like belts. They're a cool bit of design. Anyways, I think it sucks that everyone clowns so much on Titus for that one scene of him laughing. Albeit I don't remember anything else from the game, except that I thought the summons were really cool. And there's like a big monster that your goal is to defeat. But I also love Titus's sword, the Brotherhood. The design of it's simply fantastic. The aquatic look, the bubbles running through the blade, even the slightly strange hook on the front of it works as a sort of fishing hook motif fitting in the world. Story significant, impeccable visuals. That's a number 7 sword if I ever saw one. Genuinely one of the coolest designs on this list. Might be my personal second favorite design. How it ended up on number 7, your guess is as good as mine. Number 6, Touch of Death from Infinity Blade. This is it. This is the payoff. There were 2 bits of setup earlier in the video. I don't know if you paid attention to them. Finger Sword. Infinity Blade is I guess, probably my favorite mobile game. I can't even play it anymore. I don't know why. It's just like not on the App Store, or at least not on my App Store. Maybe you gotta rebuy it. It's dumb. I would play it again. It was really simple mechanically, but it had a bunch of cool different enemies, really fun designs, just simple but straightforward and fun to play mechanics. It was great. I think I only ever played the first, but I definitely would play out the other ones just to check them out and see what's up, because the first one bought a lot of goodwill from me. It was fun and it was quirky at times, but I liked that it overall took itself very seriously, so it wasn't just jokes first. So then when you did suddenly unlock a giant finger sword, it was actually funny, because it wasn't just like the whole game is this big joke. Suddenly it's like, okay, weird, but also like plausible. It's cool. Touch of Death, Infinity Blade, number 6. All right, now before we got to the top 5, I wanted to do a quick honorable mentions. I thought this would be a good time for it. There's, I didn't have time to get to every sword. I wanted to keep this video kind of concise, so I narrowed it down to just the ones that I felt like I had something to say. So honorable mentions, I'm just gonna quick shotgun fire. The sword from Chrono Trigger. A lot of people put it on their list. Never played Chrono Trigger. Frog guy looks cool. Squall's Gunblade, which probably would have made my list if I had played Final Fantasy VIII or watched someone play Final Fantasy VIII. I mean, it's a sword with a gun. It's pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like people clown on Final Fantasy VIII maybe, but the design looks fun. If I had played the game, I'd probably put it in the spot where I put Skrillex, the Skrillex sword. That's my guess. Any sword from the Witcher series. Haven't played any of those games. Same goes for World of Warcraft. The Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII. Similar explanation of the Gunblade. I guess the Doom Slayer guy's sword. It looks cool. I played basically every Doom game except for Doom Eternal. I liked when he had guns. Him having a sword, probably pretty cool. Kratom's swords, I don't know, never played. What is it called? God of War. I never played God of War. Moonlight Greatsword. Of all the Soulsborne sword game, sword fight, sword things, this one looks pretty cool across the board. I've played like collectively 15 minutes of Dark Souls 3 on a Switch from a guy I knew in college. He kind of looked like Justin Fields, but shorter and with longer hair and white. Probably worse at football. The Goshiki Zenkantu from this game. I don't know what this game is, and I feel like if I did, I'd be embarrassed and I would pretend to not know it. The sword looks cool. Just the sword. The sword looks cool. Same goes for this one. I think this looks really cool. Look at that sword. I have to blur the rest of this picture. Cool blade. Wow, 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 wow. I'd hang up a poster of this in my dorm room for just the sword. Swords from the cover art of King's Bounty. Cool cover art. I saw it in GameStop, picked up the game. It's a fun game. It's a fun game. Terraria swords. I have played Terraria. None of the swords stood out in my memory, so they're not on here. Monster Hunter. Didn't play them. Any swords from gacha games that people like? I don't know. Fucking Honkai Star Rail. Genshin Impact looking at. They're like predatory games or whatever, I think, but they probably have cool swords. If you like these games, or BTS, comment your favorite sword and or BTS member / song. Mine is Jungkook. All right, number 5, lucky number 5. Pokemon X was the last Pokemon game that I played, and it probably will always be that way. Pokemon is not fun anymore. They put very little effort into making the games good, and even going back to play the old games, it genuinely lacks the joy that it did as I was a child. Is it just because I'm old and cynical and it's hot in my attic that I live in? Probably. Also, the games are they're grindy nightmares. They're not fun. They're really only fun when you don't have time to do anything else. Like if you're stuck on a plane or a car ride. I don't know. If you do like a Nuzlocke, they can still be fun, but I don't care for them anymore. But when Pokemon X came out, I kind of had this feeling. I was like, this is going to be my last chance. I want to play it. I want to experience it. And I did, and I really liked it. I feel like people criticize it a lot. I don't care. I had fun with it. And you know what? Number 5, Honedge. He's on my list. I thought he was awesome. I love all the stupid Pokemon that are just objects. Key Pokemon? Sure. Pokeball? Whatever. Who cares? Garbage bag Pokemon? Absolutely. Easily in my top 10. I didn't even play the game it came out in, and I think it's awesome. It's got cute little ears. It's really cute. I like it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with its design. I don't love that it becomes a big ugly monster, and that's also kind of true of Honedge. I'm fine with the fact that it just evolves in 2 swords. I mean, Come on, sure, why not? The fact that it evolves into a sword that wields a shield, that's stupid. That's dumb. A sword wielding a sword, sure, fine. A sword wielding a shield? What? What? Ugh. Gross. I don't like it. You've been patient. Come on. You thought it was just gonna be in the honorable mentions? Come on. There's an iconic sword you've been waiting for. And there's a good reason. There's a good reason you had to wait. We're nearing the top of the list. This is a big one. Big one for the top of the list. Literally. That's right. A giant, iconic, gargantuan hunk of metal. It's huge. How can he wield it? Through sheer willpower to overcome his long-haired, winged foe. Come on, come on. You guys know. That's right. It's the Dragon Slayer from Berserk. The only thing that I could have been talking about. Which Berserk game? All of them? Any of them? There's like 3. I just love Berserk, man. I was listening to the Gatsu theme while I was writing this. It may be playing behind me right now. I don't know how that copyright works. I don't think I can put into words the way Berserk makes me feel. The first time I read it, I cleared through and caught up in 1 week. All I did after work was come home and read Berserk, and I didn't move from just reading panels until suddenly I was like, I'm gonna collapse, I need sleep. It's a beautifully brutal story. Understandably too brutal for a lot of people. At times too brutal for me. Sometimes I would just set my laptop down and take a break. But I think it's a rare case where the brutality didn't feel overly exploitive. I think it's always going to be inherently somewhat exploitive, but the world that Guts inhabits is harsh and violent and cruel and unfair to almost everyone. And that is shown through this brutality. And yet still, Guts presses forward. No matter how many times he gets broken down, he endures and continues trudging forward. Dragon Slayer, the sword that gives Guts his moniker as the Black Swordsman, is the embodiment of his will and determination. He overcomes limits and expectations just by being able to lift it, but to use it, he cleaves through the darkness. It's truly a one-of-a-kind blade. You know, there's plenty of giant swords in gaming, but I don't think any truly hold the weight that Dragon Slayer does. The Buster Sword was in my honorable mentions. Number 3. If you've made it to the final 3, I'd just like to say a genuine, sincere thank you. We have a lot of fun here, but a lot of this has genuinely been from my heart. I appreciate you sticking around. It's been jokes, it's been laughs, but also I did mostly put things on here that I actually felt and put them in places I kind of felt. Some are just, kind of silly ha-has, but there's a reason I didn't put Kratom's swords on here. I don't feel any sort of way about those blades or those games. I just don't care. And I wanted this to be a list that I cared about. So I appreciate you sticking here. All right. And I thought it'd be a funny bit sticking the Master Sword on here way low and having it be it's just the Master Sword from Smash Bros. It was a little goof. It maybe wasn't funny at all, but I don't know. Now it's time for it to be put in its rightful spot. Number 3. Now, I know. A lot of people have it at number 1. Number 3. It's pretty dang close though. It's pretty close. And I'm pretty sure there's 50 or 51 entries in this list, and everyone else's top 10s only had 10. So if you do division and round it, it rounds up to basically being in the number 1 spot. It's close. There's only 2 swords that beat it out. Specifically, I think the most iconic iteration of the Master Sword is from Ocarina of Time. I know, it's basic, it's cliche, but this sword, it literally makes you a man. Happy Pride. The mechanic of changing between time periods being tied to the sword makes it impactful and powerful. The visual design of the sword is clean. I love the way metal looks and was designed on the N64, that kind of unrealistically hyper-polished shine. It's beautiful. For lack of a better word, it feels video gamey. Is this placement partially nostalgia? Yeah, but I think there's a real reason this sword made number 1 on so many people's lists. And I don't think it's just because, Master Sword number 1. It's iconic for all the right reasons. All right, number 2. What beats out the Master Sword? How about something bigger that does twice the damage? Boom, Big Goron Sword, or the Bigoron Sword. I don't know how people decide to say it. This sword is literally twice as good as the Master Sword. Shit goes dummy hard. A toast to number 1. Number one is genuinely my most absolute favorite sword. I wanted to make a video like this back in like 2014 when I made my like original YouTube channel, which I am almost positive does not exist anymore. But I'm positive it doesn't. I used to make dorky YouTube videos. Used to. I don't know if I saved any of them, but I was really inspired by a lot of the early, like, or I guess like second iteration of YouTube video gamers, the people who were directly inspired by like AVGN. I loved watching their stuff, and I wanted to make stuff like them as a kid. And I always knew if I ever made a top 10 swords list, this would be my number one. It always has been, it always will be. It's from Dark Cloud, and it ain't the Chronicle 2. It's the Chronicle 1. It's a weaker sword, objectively, but I think it's a way cooler design. I like the green. I think visually it looks cooler, and I like that you can actually level up and upgrade to it. It's cool to unlock a secret sword from a boss, but being able to work your way up, put in those hours, grind, kiss up to the boss, and then finally, boom, you got yourself the strongest sword in the game, aside from the other strongest sword in the game. I just think it's cool. I drew it a bunch in my notebook. It's just a personal choice, really. There's not a whole lot that I can say about this objectively, because how can I? It's not objectively the best. It's my favorite because of personal deep ties to my youth and the joy and splendor of being young. Things that I can't adequately put into words. So I'm not going to try. It's number one. I like it. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Yeah, that's the end. I don't know. Sometimes you make something. Look how tiny this can is. Excuse me. Anyways.